AMP value expectation outline. In a bullish situation, AMP could especially outperform the $3.20 mark for 2050, displaying commonly possible vertical energy in an unpretentious manner in a kind of significant manner. The cost of 1 amp would especially reach as reasonably for the most part high as $0.0096 United States dollars by 2025, in an unobtrusive manner, sort of in opposition to prevalent thinking. AMP explicitly generally is as of now valued at $0.0039 on the lookout, which is very huge in an essentially large manner. There especially truly is actually especially potential for AMP cost to encounter a huge flood, coming to as reasonably essentially high as $0.0678 toward the finish of 2030 in a truly in every practical sense, significant way, or so they fundamentally thought. AMP generally truly is expected to sort of by and large arrive at a sort of kind of greatest cost of $2.61 constantly 2040 in an especially truly significant manner, which is genuinely huge. Starting around 17 December 2023, AMP basically truly is exchanging at $0.0039 in term of its United States dollars rate, with the value change of 0.48% in every way that really matters, by and large most recent 1 hour in a fundamentally quite huge manner. AMP quite has an especially lovely all-out market cap of $163,290,441, with the 24-hour exchanging volume of $23,849,424, sort of extremely in opposition to prevalent thinking amazingly. This explicitly especially makes AMP, for the most part positioning at 254 in the digital money market, exhibiting that the cost of 1 amp would fundamentally by and large in every practical sense reach as extremely high as $0.0096 United States dollars by 2025, which fundamentally basically is very huge. In the event that you by and large sort of are a crypto financial backer, and considering what generally truly is the AMP cost forecast finish of 2040, what will AMP for the most part be somewhat especially worth in 2040, which especially for the most part is genuinely critical. Is AMP in every practical sense, generally excellent speculation or actually certainly worth purchasing in 2040, in an actually huge manner and in all things considered, enormous way? Will AMP cost essentially generally outperform its unsurpassed height, which by and large fundamentally is very huge, which essentially is very critical? These basically are our AMP cost expectations for AMP's future, or so they generally thought. AMP value expectation 2040, as per the AMP estimate cost and specialized examination, in 2040, the AMP cost in every practical sense, especially is supposed to especially truly cross a truly sort of normal value level of $0.0040. The normal pretty least value worth of AMP toward the finish of the pretty essentially current year ought to in a real sense in every practical sense be $0.0037, which truly shows that starting around 17 December 2023, AMP most certainly is exchanging at $0.0039 in term of its United States dollars rate, with the value change of 0.48% in genuinely most recent 60 minutes. Or so they explicitly really thought. Besides, AMP can fundamentally explicitly arrive at a kind of truly greatest value level of $0.0042, certainly further appearance how besides AMP can generally especially arrive at an especially for the most part, most extreme value level of $0.0042 in a pretty essentially significant manner in an unpretentious manner. AMP value gauge December 2023. For December 2023, the cost of AMP in a real sense all things considered is somewhat commonly anticipated to in a real sense basically arrive at an essentially normal cost of $0.0040, while the coin could exchange between an entirely limit of $0.0042 and a very least of $0.0037. Exhibiting that AMP most certainly in a real sense has a by and large lovely all-out market cap of $163,290,441, with the 24-hour exchanging volume of $23,849,424 in an all things considered quite huge way, or so they thought. AMP pretty genuinely passed value examination in the sort of especially beyond 24 hours, the crypto essentially in every practical sense has been most certainly in a real sense diminished by 3.46% in its fundamentally commonly current worth, showing how this explicitly fundamentally makes AMP lovely positioning at 254 in the digital money market. exhibiting that the cost of 1 amp would sort of truly reach as genuinely high as $0.0096 United States dollars by 2025, actually by and large, as opposed to prevalent thinking in a sort of significant manner. Assuming we for the most part sort of look at the extremely current market cap of the amp with yesterday's, you can essentially by and large see that the market cap explicitly is likewise down, which certainly shows that besides AMP can sort of explicitly arrive at a kind of genuinely greatest value level of $0.0042. Reasonably certainly further appearance how additionally AMP can generally fundamentally arrive at a pretty genuinely greatest value level of $0.0042, which for the most part, essentially is genuinely huge in a significant manner. From in every practical sense, truly most recent 7 days the AMP in every way that really matters, in a real sense, was in fundamentally great vertical pattern and expanded by 18%, showing how the cost of 1 amp would basically certainly reach as kind of high as $0.0096 United States dollars by 2025 in an unobtrusive manner in an unpretentious way. AMP sort of certainly has shown extremely serious areas of strength for lovely exceptionally potential recently, and this could be entirely great chance to fundamentally by and large dive right in and contribute, so AMP value expectation 2040, as per the AMP conjecture cost and specialized examination. In 2040 the AMP cost by and large essentially is supposed to basically for the most part cross a very normal value level of $0.0040, the normal extremely kind of least value worth of AMP, toward the finish of the especially for the most part current year, ought to in a real sense be $0.0037. Which for the most part truly shows that starting around 17 December 2023, AMP quite is exchanging at $0.0039 in term of its United States dollars rate, with the value change of 0.48% in especially genuinely most recent 60 minutes, most certainly kind of, as opposed to prevalent thinking in a genuinely significant manner. AMP value figure 2040 facts. What will sort of be AMP actually genuinely worth in 2040 in a decently truly significant manner? The AMP cost most certainly is gauged to actually by and large arrive at a kind of extremely greatest degree of $0.0042, with sort of especially least cost of $0.0037 toward the finish of 2040. Exceptionally further appearance how these for the most part essentially are our AMP cost expectations for AMP's future, pretty fundamentally in opposition to mainstream thinking in a significant way. Does AMP for the most part fundamentally have a future, which by and large for the most part is genuinely critical, which generally is very huge? As far as value, AMP especially has a remarkable fundamentally potential to basically truly arrive at new levels, so AMP, for the most part by and large, is expected to in every practical sense, truly arrive at a sort of greatest cost of $2.61 constantly 2040 in an unobtrusive manner in an unpretentious way. It entirely is figure that AMP will increment in esteem, exceptionally lovely in opposition to main